global fight against the adverse effects of climate change is one which requires urgent action and a concerted effort to secure the world's future.
Guyana continues to be a reliable partner in the fight against climate change, pressing ahead steadfastly to the goal of becoming a green state. This policy position, combined with the fact that Guyana has one of the highest proportions of forest cover of any country in the world and the ability to absorb more carbon dioxide than it emits, means that the country is well positioned to access climate financing for its renewable energy goals.
On this episode of Government in Action, we will take another look at the government's green agenda and the role of the Department of the Environment and its related agencies that are driving Guyana towards its goal of becoming a green state.
Sustainable development has been the goal of the international community since the UN Conference on Environment and Development in 1992. The concept of a green economy later served as a major theme for the 2012 UN Conference on Sustainable Development in Brazil. In 2015, countries within the United Nations adopted the Sustainable Development Goals as a means of ending poverty, protecting the planet, and ensuring prosperity for all. Internationally, the development of green economies is seen as a means toward fostering international cooperation for support in the area of sustainable development. Since his assumption to office in May 2015, President David Granger has placed Guyana more squarely on a path toward the sustainable exploitation of resources and the protection and proper management of the environment. In his address at the 71st session of the United Nations General Assembly on September 20 in New York, the President highlighted Guyana's commitment to the development of a green state.
Guyana is part of this global green movement. Our natural assets, our commitment to sustainable development, our contribution to countering the adverse effects of climate change, and our collaboration with the international community in seeking solutions to global threats have distinguished us as an emergent green state. We are a state that will ensure a secure future for our people in the pursuit of a green economy. We are a state that is proud of its place as a reliable and cooperative partner in the international efforts to protect the Earth's environment. Guyana recognizes the interlocking objectives of the agenda and the agreement. It realizes that the establishment of a green state is consistent with building climate resilience while mitigating the effects of climate change. Guyana promises to continue to work towards the agenda's goals, particularly by contributing to limiting increases in global temperatures, and to work towards a green path of development that is in accord with the agreement's nationally determined commitments.
A major step for Guyana was the signing, along with 197 countries, of the Paris Agreement in April 2016 in New York. The agreement had been adopted at the 21st UN Framework on Climate Change Conference of Parties, COP21, in Paris, and is seen as the most ambitious global response to tackling the threat of climate change. At the commemoration concert for the ratification of the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, hosted by the European Union on December 6, President Granger reiterated Guyana's commitment to being part of the solution to climate change.
Guyana will devote an additional 2 million hectares of its forests to conservation as part of the global thrust to arrest climate change. Guyana is pursuing a low-carbon, low-emission, green trajectory of economic development. Guyana will become a green state. Cooperation with Guyana is a global good.
But more than pledging commitment, the President has been active in the promotion of Guyana's green agenda. It is with this goal in mind that Guyana has been pursuing further international strides in the strengthening of bilateral partnerships along these lines. Most recently, the President attended the joint high-level segment of the 22nd Conference of Parties, COP22, in Marrakesh, Kingdom of Morocco. His attendance came following an invitation extended by King of Morocco, His Majesty Mohammed VI. There, he expressed Guyana's intention to honor its obligations under the Paris Agreement through the development and implementation of a comprehensive emissions reduction program.
Guyana calls for consideration to be given to the particular vulnerabilities of small island development states and low-lying coastal states, especially those of the Caribbean, of the Pacific, and of the Indian Ocean. Your Excellency, Guyana supports the call for increased climate financing, particularly for adaptation and based on vulnerabilities of countries and not their economies measured by their GDPs.
The president was accompanied by a team of officials who all play a pivotal role in the advancement of Guyana's green agenda. Guyana cannot on its own fund the cost of its ambitious action plan, but it can, through partnerships, exchange the value of standing forests for support for the development of green energy. The delegation's presence in Marrakesh augured well for the country, as it invited the opportunity for several high-level meetings to be held in the promotion of global partnerships in the fight against climate change. With over 22,000 participants attending the event, head of the recently established Department of the Environment, Ms. Ndibi Schweers, said that the setting up of meetings was a strategic process, where meetings held were with stakeholders who were considered to have shared interests with regard to Guyana's green agenda.
From those engagements, I think we could consider those engagements very, very fruitful. Resulting from those engagements was the fact that the government was able to reaffirm its commitment to its international partners. The stakeholders were able to see that the government is very serious about climate change. And not only that, we were also able to push our green state agenda, which I think was also well received by the various countries.
Guyana is now also working with the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, to develop a framework for the Green State Development Strategy. The delivery of this framework falls within the responsibility of the Project Management Office, and head of the office, Mr. Marlon Bristol, stated that the document is expected to be completed by January 2017.
This framework is basically a scoping document that will identify not only the scope, but the structure and other critical components of the Green State Development Strategy. It will identify what will be the engine of growth going forward. What are those core sectors? What are the supportive sectors? These are the things that, the public court of opinion seems to think have been missing. And this strategy hopes to bring all of that together.
The construction of the document will take a two-pronged approach and will seek to involve the views and input of a wide cross-section of stakeholders.
As part of the development of that strategy, not only will UNEP start the process because they have the global template that can be localized, and they have been putting in some financial and technical support to get this done. But the United Nations country team based locally and internationally will also be a part of this exercise going forward, as the document is meant to be a very comprehensive document that will look into all the sectors and subdivide those into the core sectors and the supportive sectors. So the Green State Development Strategy is basically the strategy that takes us forward to the Green State.
Ms. Schweers emphasized that the framework is a country-driven document, which will have the buy-in of citizens of the country, as the consultations will be held in all 10 regions.
I think it's easy for people to think that because we're involving international consultants, that there will not be ownership. So I think that we need to get the message out that it's going to be a country-driven process, driven by local technicians, and that UNEP is only there to provide support, if you would, to us.
But the road toward becoming a green state would be incomplete without the involvement of the Office of Climate Change. Established in 2009 primarily to support the implementation of the low-carbon development strategy, the office's main role now includes the development and coordination of government key green state policies with regard to climate change adaptation, mitigation, resilience building, and also general education and awareness. Head of the OCC, Ms. Janelle Christian, stated that the aim for a green state moves beyond the provisions of the LCDS and includes a wider scope.
I believe the LCDS has given us the building blocks where the focus really with respect to mitigation was largely on the forest sector. But we want to go beyond that, multi-sectoral, having a holistic approach to our development. And so that is where we're seeking to go with the green development strategy, development of a green state, in keeping with the principles of inclusivity, in keeping with the principles of sustainable utilization of our resources, natural capital, in keeping with the principles of sustainable development.
In this regard, the work of the OCC has seen quite a packed schedule of initiatives in an aim to fulfill its mandate. These include several projects which are receiving support from international partners such as the United Nations Development Programme, the Inter-American Development Bank and other partners in an aim to realize the policies and initiatives that President Granger has expressed as priority in achieving a green state.
But there are concrete actions in terms of the national framework that will anchor our development going forward, not just for the immediate future, but for the long term. And when I say long term, we look in 2030 to really see the change and measure the impacts. And when we talk about green economy, we are looking at ensuring that whatever comes out of that framework will address Guyana's climate vulnerability, increasing our resilience, ensuring that we have transformative climate change adaptation project, that we have transformative renewable energy projects when we talk about mitigation, also taking into consideration our biological diversity, taking into consideration also the sustainable development goals, which have to be taken into consideration in any future planning. And those discussions and decisions and efforts have already started, both at the Office of Climate Change and with our international partners.
It is the work of these and other agencies falling under the authority of the Department of the Environment that construct a streamlined approach toward the President's vision. While these changes are occurring at a higher level, the transition toward a green state can also be seen in various sections of society. President Granger has called for the development of green municipal towns and designated Bartica as the flagship for this thrust.
Bartica is going to become a laboratory for Guyana's green economy. So Bartica must lead the way. It must be a model town for our green economy, showing all other towns, all other regions, how Guyana could supply enough energy without depending on fossil fuels, gasoline, dieseline, and kerosene. Bartica must become the motor to transform Guyana onto a platform of a sustainable green development.
As a result, the transformation of Bartica into a green town is well underway, and the town is also high on the agenda of the OCC.
You probably would have heard a lot of the public service announcements and so on with respect to Bartica as a model town. And the communication department within the Office of Climate Change were responsible for all of the materials, the communication materials that came out with respect to that. We are also working with contracted Marundoi to help with the sensitization of the community, and that is ongoing. And we have successfully held also activities for the schools, both the secondary school and the primary school. There was a debate competition for the secondary school and the spelling bee competition for the primary schools, and there were several outreaches and community discourses in furtherance of the President's vision for Bartica to be the first green model town.
More than that, the President believes that the green transformation cannot be achieved without the participation of the citizens, and following calls on society to join the movement, progress has been seen in these areas as well. Late November, Demerara Bank Limited launched its solar-powered head office on Camp Street, and President Granger lauded the company for leading the charge toward transitioning to clean energy. Chief Executive Officer of the bank, Mr. Pravin Chandra Dev, said that based on calculations, the cost for solar electricity lies within the reach of members of the private sector and even private citizens.
We can convert this country, Guyana, into a very good country having cheap power. What it requires for the development of industry and business is cheap electricity, land, cheap labor, water, infrastructure, and finance. The finance is a global cost, and other previous costs are the local cost. If we can provide this to our entrepreneurs and the business people who are coming, we can convert Guyana into a sort of a manufacturing hub.
Provisions have been made in the 2017 budget, with an allocation of almost $1 billion to implement a series of renewable energy and energy efficiency projects. These projects include the installation of the first ever solar farm in Mabaruma. With the Department of the Environment currently exploring all renewable energy options as an outcome of President Granger's meeting with Minister of Climate and Environment Vidar Helgesen of the Kingdom of Norway on the sidelines of COP22, for the creation of a work plan for detailing Guyana's clean energy transition, the head of state is keen to encourage renewable energy buy-in by members of the private sector and private citizens. Not only is renewable energy the clean option, it is the cheaper option and can see a reduced energy cost, which is a main driver for the manufacturing sector.
A green state holds a bright future for Guyana, one where every Guyanese can benefit from clean, affordable, renewable energy, where the country's patrimony is protected, where Guyanese can enjoy a clean and pristine environment, and where green economic advancement will foster the good life. This is Tashandra Innes. Thank you for joining us.